All right, time now for the Film Room, powered by Google Cloud. And for that, we're going to zero in on Christian Yelich, who hit for the cycle the other day against the Reds. Incidentally, it's the third time he's hit for the cycle. All three have come against the Reds. So it's just one of those things. I'm sure Christian knows it, and I'm sure the Reds know it, too, as well. But Christian Yelich, what have you seen lately here? Because the season started off and things weren't going in the right direction, but he's picked it up, averaged about 259, his OPS over 800 and 5 home runs. And he looks like he's rounding the corner, kind of back into the form of what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, you see that confidence is getting a lot better, over the course of the last few games now. And, I mean, he's a guy that they're going to need. I mean, over the last couple of years, they've been winning, without the type of production that we're used to seeing from him. And they've been getting that production from other areas with, especially like last year with Adames. But if he can get back on track like he has been the last few games, that'll be a windfall for them as far as their offensive production as a whole.
It's amazing. They've made the playoffs the last 4 years. In their whole history, they had made it 4 times before that. And he was the key the first two. In 18 and 19, he finished first and second in the MVP. He had over 1,000 OPS in those 2 years. In the last 2 years, they've made it maybe not in spite of him, but he's been part of the chorus as opposed to the leader. He's had about a 750 OPS the last 2 years. The power's been way down. What do the Brewers, with their run prevention, become if they get 2018, 2019 Yelich back, or at least something close to that? He was one of the best players in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a presence in that lineup. And, when you're getting the type of production you expect out of him, it just lengthens that lineup. It takes pressure off the other guys as well and just makes them, obviously, a much better overall team, with him producing like we all know he can.
Does he look to you when he's at the plate? When we take a look at the triple,
he looks hitterish, man.
This is the last of the 4 hits he got the other day. The triple is always the hardest. Usually you're in line for a slap and you get a triple in the first couple of bats. He needed the triple at the end. But from a timing perspective, we know he's dealt with some injuries and he hasn't really wanted to discuss it. And he's been in the lineup every day. But clearly he has to be feeling better as well. He looks more healthy because his timing looks better at the
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to know the full extent of some of those injuries that he was going through. He's a tough guy, wanting to play through that and stuff like that. But, the difference is, like, when you're watching, like, especially recently, you see that confidence getting back. He looks hitterish up there. And, it's really cool to see because at times, he was looking a little lost. But right now, I mean, he's starting to look like he's getting, the foot back on the pedal and swinging the bat really well.
And remember this, Alex, this is the Milwaukee Brewers. They're not going to have a gigantic payroll. At the end of after the 19 season, spring training of 20, after they finish first, finish second in the MVP, they give him a 9-year, $250 million extension.
Yep.
That means we're expecting you to be the weightlifter for a while.
Right.
And when he's not, the fact that they've remained an elite team without him at that level says a lot about how they've spent their money around him. But really, they build their team payroll-wise for him to be the great player on the team.
Yeah. But another thing, too, Joel, which I think is really interesting, because Milwaukee, with Craig Counsell and David Stearns upstairs, obviously they're a team that does everything, by the numbers in the book. But Counsell has left him, like, in that 3 or 2 spot all year long. Even though he was struggling at the beginning of the year, there was no, hey, we're like Cody Bellinger, the Dodgers, he's hitting 7th. I mean, it's embarrassment of riches in that lineup, and so you can do that. But Craig is just saying, hey, we're going to leave him there. He's our guy, and we're not worried about it. We're not worried about him. It gave Yelich an air of confidence that, don't worry about it. We know you're going to figure it out.
But, in some way, I think, yes. I think Craig Counsell's in the handful of 4 or 5 best managers in the sport. But I would also say, if not him, who? Again, they're not gifted in that way, length of lineup. Their strength is in their rotation and the end of the game with Williams and Hader. They're not blessed with a lot of lineup options. So you got to kind of sink and swim with this guy. And he's been okay at best the last 2 years. It's better if they're swimming than they're sinking.
Yeah, well, they're swimming now. I mean, cycles and all, he's rolling.